Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. I'm your host, Wendy Nystrom. Today we have Michael Vincent. Michael Vincent is pretty awesome as a dude. We've been talking quite a bit, but you have an awesome background. So real quick, you're co-founder, CEO of the America's Ocean Plastic Technologies. Very cool stuff that you're working on.
Yeah.
Executive Vice President of Media and Partner Development for Trucking Tower, as well as the founder of *𝐶 their podcast that you guys should be checking out. So, Michael, tell me what you're working on. You're doing awesome stuff with ocean plastic.
Well, we're trying. You know, it's we still haven't hit that overnight success, but we've only been at it for 5 years. So, you know,
nothing is overnight. People think that things are overnight.
It takes at least, I think, 7 years to be an overnight success is what it takes.
And then all of a sudden,
I didn't know I was being interviewed by Wonder Woman. That's fantastic.
Oh, yes.
I love it. Well, yeah. Hey, we're doing great. You know, I've been with Ocean Plastic Technologies is out of South Africa, Durban, South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal. They've been around for over 10 years and have been really making positive impacts in the social and the environmental scene there in South Africa, creating basically zero money down entrepreneurs in these, these remote villages, et cetera, where some of them don't have power, right? I mean, their waste stream is actually a stream, right? Or a river. Yeah. And seriously, getting money, sponsorships, et cetera, from corporations and creating these micro recycling pods that they place and then teach people how to run them. And they're cleaning up the environment. They're recycling plastics that are then being bought directly from those machines by these companies. And they're making digital wealth to then feed their families, build schools, whatever happens to be done, right? One of these machines will make like 50 to 75 jobs in one of these locations there. And so about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half ago, I've been involved in trying to evangelize what they've been doing for years, a little over 4. But the OPT USA, which is we run the Americas for Ocean Plastic Technologies, or a subsidiary, about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half ago, to try and bring that mission here to the United States. A little bit, it's still on the social side, but a little bit less than you would think in the back areas, et cetera, of South Africa. But it is impactful for the communities in the United States where they're just not big enough for the big behemoth recyclers and trash companies to be there, right? And so they have to ship the recycling all, miles and miles, hundreds of miles to get it done. And it's very, very costly. So if you shrink that down with our technology and our programs, we can actually make it a revenue stream for those locations and expand jobs, but also expand the participation in plastics recycling. And that's where it comes down to. Ocean plastics. Are you taking it out of the ocean? No, we're trying to turn off the valve into the ocean. That's what we're trying to do by getting it as, taking recycling as close to the hands of the consumer and also businesses. We do B2B and also, post-consumer type of recycling as well. That's the OPT side of things. And we're really excited because last Thursday we were able to, after 4 years of working with the Caribbean, the U.S. Virgin Islands, we're able to set out our one of my favorite places. Our press release that we are creating the first permanent plastics infrastructure recycling program in St. Thomas, and then it'll expand to St. John's and St. Croix. And that's with the support of the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. And then we have partners on the ground there in the University of the Virgin Islands. We have a few senators, and their waste management authority for the islands. And also at a great organization there, the Opia Taino International, which is it's a family. They're a very, very large family that has gained recognition in the last couple of years as being the indigenous Indians of the U.S. Virgin Islands. And so they're always they're a nonprofit working towards social and environmental justices and that type of stuff. So they're a strong supporter of what we're doing, and will be utilizing their knowledge and their social contacts to operate and run this and really turn over the recycling to the people of the Virgin Islands to make it happen. So yeah, very cool.
Very and extremely important. I just wanted to quickly paint a picture so people really understand what this is. We have a lot of ocean garbage, waste, plastic materials floating around. What Michael's
100%.
doing is stopping it before it gets there, stopping that garbage from being dumped by basically taking it and recycling it. And the biggest challenge with respect to plastic recycling is, y'all know those little numbers that are underneath it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the triangle. Usually you have to sort things out and you have to recycle like with like. Apparently Michael's figured out where you don't need to do that, which is a huge cost saver and a huge time saver, where you're able to kind of do everything together.
Yeah, the separation really is between the rigids and the flexibles. So that's really the separation. You still have to keep the bags in a single stream, you know, and the foils, really multi-layers as they call them, et cetera. So yeah, as long as you're doing that, the rest of it can be done. And it can be done because we're doing it on a smaller scale. Once it's all mixed together and it gets into these massive MRFs, as we call them, the material reclamation facilities, now you're talking about $10, $20 million machines you need to be able to sort through all that stuff and make it happen. And that's when they talk about contamination. It's not only food or poison, it's a number 2 with a number 1 or a number 4 with a number 1, and if there's too much of that,
it's like soupy and chunky and people have difficulties.
Yeah, they just don't work. And the thing is, although we understand 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The truth is, in the polymers and the plastics, there's probably millions. I know there's thousands and thousands, because even just within a specific polypropylene, there's all the different colors, but then there's different melt flow indexes. So can you injection mold it, or does it have to be thermal molded, or is it extrusion molded? And so the different properties of that particular plastic are different for all kinds of different products. So literally this bottle and this bottle, when you mix them, you're limiting what they can be done after they're recycled. And that's really where it comes down to being really difficult when you start getting into the polymer chemistry, which that's as deep as my knowledge goes.
I went down that rabbit hole a couple years ago.
And you got to get smarter than me. You got to talk to Tams and Edifa at Pure Cycle or somebody like that to get into that type of stuff.
No, I did my own rabbit hole, and I'm like, we really created our own mess, literally.
Yeah. No, we did. Yeah. You did.
All these different types of plastics, and none of them play nice with each other, so you have to figure it out. But you're not taking this and recycling it. What are you guys making out of it? What are you?
We're not. We're not making anything. But what it basically is this: when you collect recyclables, or you put your recyclables in your curbside bin, for instance, it gets picked up and moved to a materials reclamation facility, or what we call a MRF. And in that MRF, they might be recycling just the PET, the plastic bottles, right? The water bottles. And they may be just doing the clear ones. Now there's green and there's yellow and there's red and there's orange and all these other ones, but they may be just doing those. Or maybe they're doing 1s and 2s and 5s, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're taking that. They're not processing it any more than taking it away, separating it from the rest of the trash and the rest of the recyclables that you threw in there, and baling it, compressing it into a bale, and then shipping it off to somebody who is then going to process it further. And sometimes it's going right to a manufacturer that does it all in-house. Like here in Chattanooga, a lot of those plastic bottles go just a few miles south of us to Northwest Georgia, which is really the world's capital of broadloom floor covering. Like most of the carpet in the world is manufactured just south of me. And they take that and they extrude it into yarn, which then they make into your carpets. So that may happen, or it can travel all around the world. I don't know the exact figure, but it's somewhere in the 400 to 500 miles is where a piece of plastic that is being recycled will travel before it's actually recycled. And all of those sortations and processes in between cost money, right? Obviously, and moving it and transporting it. So think of it this way. If you put a bottle into your recycling bin, by the time it gets through the MRF and is sold, they're selling it somewhere in the 5 to 6 cents range, right?
Okay.
Once it's totally processed and washed and sorted through and then ground down to a little flake, 4 or 5 millimeters that can be used in manufacturing. Now it's worth somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 cents a pound. And it's densified about 70x, which means that if you put it on a trailer, you will exceed the weight limit of that trailer before you exceed the volume, which is not the case in baling this stuff, right? So your logistics costs are much cheaper. Your transportation costs, your carbon footprint's much cheaper, et cetera. So instead of your bottle going through all of this stuff and going through it, it goes to my machine, which sits in a 20-foot ocean container at your convenience center. Plastic bottle goes in, out comes plastic worth about 40 cents a pound right there in that one machine, 70x densified, and can go 5 miles down the road to a manufacturer and start being produced instead of all these other middlemen and these movements in carbon and all this other kind of stuff.
And just the carbon footprint of the transportation alone going that far.
Massive. It's massive. Yeah. It's massive. We don't, people don't understand this. Like the films, the flexibles in the plastic bags, the poly mulches, which are the white plastic you see on the fields in the spring in the farms where they plant through them to control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
None of that stuff is recycled, and like 1%. And that which is collected is baled up and shipped across overseas and then recycled and shipped back. We import more recycled plastics than we recycle here in the United States, yet we're the largest producer of waste plastics.
We would, I mean, a lot of the stuff we would ship overseas just got dumped in the waterways, which ended up in the oceans. And, certain countries in Southeast Asia have said, we're just not taking anymore. Go away. We're not your garbage bin anymore. So we did have
and that's what it was. It was players there who were taking the plastics, and then they'd take whatever they wanted, and the stuff they didn't want, they would just throw into the environment. So it was a regulation. It was like, hey, we can't. This is just stupid. And it was stupid. What was going on? It was stupid. But yeah, so that's what we're doing there.
Stuff in the Virgin Islands, though, because I've told you I'm a St. Croix kid, kind of grew up.
Yes, you are.
I mean, it's one of my favorite places in the world. And yeah, there is a pollution garbage problem because it's just not as enforced, and there's nowhere to take all that waste, and there's so much waste being imported in. So this is definitely absolutely necessary in those islands.
Yeah, it is. And like anything, it takes a long time to build up the coalition, and you've been in St. Croix, you've been in the Virgin Islands, and you know how things can get bastardized out of from what the initial intention was.
Oh, yes.
So we'll just leave it there. But there's an oil refinery there in St. Croix, I know.
Hess oil. Blobs of oil used to wash up on the beach or get all over your feet, but no one dared say anything because they didn't want to get in trouble with the politics or the Hess people.
Yeah, exactly. That I got arrested on that pier once. Back in the day.
Oh, that's a story.
I wasn't doing anything nefarious. I worked for Tropical Shipping, and we had our CFS was right there at the base of that dock, and our ship came in, and we were taking the containers off of it, and I just decided to walk out and walk down the pier to check out the operation. Well, apparently that's against the law, and so I got about halfway down the pier, and they took me at gunpoint back to our offices and explained to me very clearly as I was not allowed to do that.
That's perplexing. I wonder what it is about walking down the pier that was a big no-no.
Well, I just security, I guess. I mean, I could have been anybody could go up there to the ship and or stowaways, et cetera. That type of stuff happens quite a bit. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never really thought about that.
Or, you're just walking down there and somebody sets a 40-foot container with 80,000 pounds in it on top of you. It's not going to feel real good.
That would hurt.
Yeah.
But it'd be quick.
It'd be quick. It would be quick. Yeah, it would be quick. It definitely would. Unless you saw the shadow coming, then it might be a few moments.
Then you might have a few moments of and then
what am I doing? So that's what's going on there. That's what's going on there. Trucking tower is another interesting one. It's also in environmental. I got hooked up with my very good friend Andy Hedrick, who is the founder CEO over there at Trucking Tower, and it was a number of years ago because he was interested in our recycling pods, our MRPs, as we call them, our micro recycling pods,
Okay.
to utilize those to create wealth that would be utilized for Christian missions for schools.
Oh, how fabulous.
Yeah. And so, and he and his wife have been doing a lot of that work, and he's also very environmentally minded. And so he is working, and he's got a product there from Cyberfuels that reduces the emissions from diesel trucks about 23%, and also reduces, in addition to that, reduces or increases the mileage, the efficiency by about 26% or better on average, which all in all, it results like over 70 million gallons of diesel treated so far, and a bunch of fleets are coming on board utilizing it. On average, emissions are down about 23%, and they save anywhere from 10 to 20%, averages 19% in net fuel spend. So after purchase of the product, et cetera, they're still saving around 19% on their fuel spend. So, you've heard people like Shelley Simpson, the CEO of J.B. Hunt, largest intermodal logistics company in the U.S., say that, customers are demanding green and sustainable logistics and transportation, but they won't pay for it. Yeah. Well, okay, what if you could reduce it and reduce your costs at the exact same time? Now you've got something going. It's not the answer. It isn't. But
it's an excellent step in the right direction, and that's what we need to do. It's a
step in the right direction. We have to take those. If greatness will get in the way of advancements every time, if you're waiting for it.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up, because so many people are like, well, why are you even bothering with diesel? Why not just go 100% electric or hydrogen, whatever? It's like, we have to start somewhere with what we have.
Yeah.
And this is solving that problem immediately. In time, as we get more technology, as we get better batteries, as we get better storage, whatever it is, things will change. But this is an immediate effect for now, which is great. And it's also, 100%. And you run their podcast as well, right? For Tower Trucking?
Yeah. So we've got a couple of different podcasts. There's one that Andy and I do about once or twice a month, talking about different topics, et cetera. But the other one that I just started with doing for them it's called Freight Executive Insights. And it's really, it's taking, it's exactly what it is. It's 15, 20 minutes, sometimes 25, depending on how interesting it is, right? Talking to a freight executive, C-level, VP level, that it's about what really evangelizing what they're doing, and evangelizing and talking about sustainability issues, efforts within, what is the reality of electric or EV trucks? What is the reality of hydrogen trucks? Where do you guys fall in the spectrum? What are you guys trying to do? And also the other, E and G or the S and G of ESG, because there are 3 letters there.
Yeah, most people forget about the E, though.
They do. They really do. But yeah, so that's that podcast, in addition to the
it's funny when you talk about, the transportation, logistics, trucking industry. That is a primary carbon emitter that I would personally love to see. I'd love to see rail come back more efficiently and better. When Hyperloop first came out 10 years ago, I was really happy, and I thought that was going to be awesome, and that just fizzles.
Why do we have maglev trains going everywhere? I don't understand. That'd be sweet.
I would love maglev. I mean, I have a friend who's Japanese, and he's like, we've had the bullet train for how many years now, and y'all can't even get one train going in California. Like, don't start. Don't tell me what I already know.
Yeah, well, there are positives and negatives to our society.
That is very true. I mean, I grew up, my great-grandfather was an inventor for the train industry, so I love trains. Huge fan of them. And I just wish that we had better, more efficient, more frequent train transport, because honestly, when it's available to me, I will always opt for that option.
Yeah. Oh. I just put out a little, I do these news little reels, like 2 minutes, 19 seconds, 2 minute, 10-second news things every day about sustainability and that type of stuff in various different industries. Just pick a news or topic and just talk about it. Strip away the hype, because, like you're talking about diesel, electric, hydrogen, all this kind of stuff. People see the headlines, and then they see this negative headline and that positive headline, another one, and pretty soon they don't know what to think. And if you just read the headlines and this side, somebody's lying. Well, the reality is that nobody's really lying. They're just marketing to their advantage, right? If you go through all of the details are correct. EVs are not greener. They're not. Will they be? Probably. But right now, they're not the answer in many places, right? They have their issues, but they're getting there, and they will get there. And hydrogen is the same thing, et cetera, right? It's not that one's never going to happen or whatever it happens to be. So I was looking at this, but transportation in the United States is 28% of our emissions, right? It's a huge chunk. Well, but if you convert it to electricity generation right now is 25%. So if you take all of our transportation and change it over to electricity, all you've done is taken a scale like this and taken this mass and put it here, and poof, the total mass emissions doesn't change. You just moved it over to electricity instead of diesel. You haven't done anything.
No, I've got to, and you're right. There are people who market it themselves better as what they're financially invested in, whichever side they're going to promote. And I get it. But the thing is, we need energy diversification. We need to pay attention to 100% everything out there.
Absolutely. And I'm saying it's going to take time, and we need bridge technologies to get there. And we need people to accept the fact that this may not be perfect, but it's the right move to get there.
Absolutely.
And reality, I don't know. I haven't done the numbers. There's people out there with calculators much better than mine. I don't. And if they're watching, I'd love to have somebody just do it. What would happen if all of the people in the United States just got 10-15% better? What would be the impact?
I think it'd be quite remarkable personally, because every little bit does help.
100%, right? I mean, you think about, like, in the world of recycling, what does everybody in the planet, and especially in the United States, know that you can recycle? Plastic bottles. Everybody knows you can do that. How many do we recycle? 19%.
I'm glad you brought that up. So let me ask you a question. Right now, you get a nickel. In most states, it's a nickel. Some states, it's 10 cents to recycle that bottle. Yeah. That number hasn't changed in, I think, 50 or 60 years. Yeah,
there's a list of states that you can redeem it in, right? There's always that. Michigan.
I mean, I grew up in Michigan. It was 10 cents. Everywhere else.
It's always like 5 cents, 5 cents, 5 cents, except Michigan and California, 10 cents.
No, California is still 5 cents. Still 5 cents.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Right. But that's my question, though. Is like, this number hasn't increased with any inflation, with any changes. I mean, you could buy a soda for, in, I don't know, 1950 for a nickel, and you got your nickel deposit return or whatever.
Wait. We got to back up a second.
Yeah.
You're from Michigan and you call it a soda?
Yeah, I actually am from California, lived in Connecticut, lived in Michigan, went to school in Boston, lived in New York and New Jersey, and back to California. So I don't know really where I am from.
Okay. Because if you were truly from Michigan, you'd have said pop.
Pop. I don't say pop. Pop was my dad.
Okay, there you go. I live in Chattanooga now, and everything's called a Coke.
Even if it's not a Coke.
Yeah, it's a Coke.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Huh. But no, why haven't we upped the cost of the deposit? Like, let's make the deposit 50 cents. Then people will look at that bottle and say, "Oh, I'm gonna redeem this."
So, you research and going through that, I've read a bunch of articles about it. I haven't dug too deep into it, but there's a lot that are trying to get rid of those states that are going to, because they're bankrupting them. The 5 cents.
Collecting it on the back, you get charged that deposit. You're just giving back.
Yeah, but the problem is that 5 cents isn't. You're paying 5 cents for a bottle that is now going to be processed and then sold for 6 cents a pound. That bottle doesn't weigh anywhere near a pound, right? So you're buying your resources for like 10 times more than you can sell them for. That's not good business. That's not good business. It doesn't work. And there's other issues there. The main one that I would like to point out is this: is Keith Harrison. She's the CEO founder of the Recycling Partnership. Her whole thing, and she's right in my opinion, is you've got to create access first. You could put $1 redemption on that bottle, and you're effectively not going to do a whole lot, because it's still not going to increase the amount of recycling because you still don't have the accessibility to make the recycling occur. You can incent and plead and evangelize all day long, but until you give the American public and the world at large, to some extent, an easy, convenient way and access to make it happen, it's not going to happen. You have the most efficient MRFs on the planet. Spend $100 million on each one of them to make them the best recycling thing on the planet. It's not going to do anything because nobody's. If it doesn't enter the stream, it's not going to get done, right? Most of these MRFs, like Republic, when it gets in there, it's recycled. It's not like only 6% of what they put in the bin is being recycled. There's only 6% going in the bin. That's
I get that. I mean, but there are two things here. One, when we brought up, it's a not cost effective for them to do that 5 or 10 cent redemption.
Yeah.
I question that because you're giving them that 5 cents and they're just giving it back. It's a net. So there shouldn't be loss or gain in there. It's a net.
There shouldn't be. I agree with you.
Nickel, you give me the bottle. I give you bottle back. You give me my nickel back.
Right.
That's it.
And there's so much that doesn't come back through volume that you've gotten paid for that doesn't go through and get recycled. You should have a surplus of money, right?
Going to the recycling and people actually doing it.
But I think that's where it falls down is the accounting and where the streams of that revenue actually go.
Yeah, okay, I will agree with you on that one. I'm thinking there's something going on.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, with getting people to recycle and actually do it, there are numerous other countries which it's not. People in America will not go for this, but you will be fined like crazy if you don't recycle. I mean,
100%.
other countries,
I agree.
They go bananas.
There's a company called 𝑦𝒊𝒈𝐴, and it's pretty cool. If you like plants, it's pretty cool. They make wall sconce planters out of recycled plastics. They're very cool. It's quite stylish. Very cool. But the woman there that I interviewed, their VP of marketing and product, she lived in Heidelberg, Germany for a number of years. And when she came back to the US, she was just shocked at the difference in our societies. We just go dig another hole out in West Texas and dump our garbage in it.
Yeah.
You don't have a West Texas in Germany. You know?
No, they actually, I mean, they have very green, pristine. I was just in Austria and Germany over the wintertime. And what I saw firsthand, again, that redemption thing, we went to the Christmas markets. You have your mulled wine. They call it Glühwein. You get your cup. They charge you €5 for that cup. You can either keep it as a souvenir. If you break it, it's on you. Or when you give it back, you get your €5 back.
There you go.
Also, when you got food, if you got an actual plate with a fork, €3, eat, return, get your €3 back.
There you go.
Or it was on a little wafer-looking thing, like a sugar wafer, but it was unflavored. So that's biodegradable, or you could eat it. It tasted like literally nothing, but it was served, a little French fry thing was on that. There are alternatives, but for some reason, we as Americans are like, I want my plastic cup, I want my plastic fork, and then I'm going to throw it away. And we got to stop doing that.
We got to stop doing that. And then, the whole, everybody's in, I don't know where to begin.
I think I told you.
Well, it's just, there's so many things and rabbit holes to go down, right? I mean, when you're talking about your plastics and we want this, and we also want it to look good. And we also turn our environmentalism or a sustainability into a fashion. And look how sustainable I am, right? And so I got to get my Stanley Cup, but I can't have this Stanley Cup. I need my summer Stanley Cup, and I need my fall Stanley Cup, and I need my Valentine's Day Stanley Cup. And that's not the purpose of a Stanley Cup.
No.
It is supposed to be a reusable water bottle, and you get one of them, and you use it until it is so just destroyed it's a sieve. Then you recycle it and get a new one. That's the point.
Oh yeah. When I first started, I mean, I've been following sustainability for a very long time, but when I really dove in hard and I started going to more and more meetings and conferences and venues, everyone has their swag bag and their recyclable bag. Here's your coat, your tote for the grocery shopping.
Yeah.
I have so many of those. But now when I go visit friends and I'm like, let's say returning something or delivering something, dropping something off, you can now have one of 1,000 little bags I now have.
Yeah, that I can't seem to
nothing sustainable about that.
No matter what I do, I can't get rid of these.
Or all of the tumblers that you get here's our mug. It's like, I don't need another. Just so many mugs.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
I got Yeah. But the last two shows that I went to, there was very little swag at the,
because I keep telling people, do nothing, give away nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. I think the last swag I got was a bottle of Maker's Mark whiskey from 𝑺𝒉𝒂𝒎𝒊𝒏𝒈 from 𝑺𝒉𝒂𝒐𝒕𝒆𝒄𝒕𝒊𝒏𝒈 system.
That's a decent swag.
That's not bad swag at all, really.
That is that's quite nice and sustainable, because that will be yours.
It is.
Well, so Michael, and you also have your, before I let you go, could you tell people about your 𝐶ESTANIACS podcast? Because that's also.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. So 𝐶ESTANIACS is a long format, like 45 minutes to an hour conversational, much like this. It is designed specifically to evangelize what, industry leaders and CEOs and NPOs, et cetera, are doing in sustainability, regardless of whether it's plastics or energy or textiles or whatever it happens to be, agriculture, doesn't matter, and bring them on. And the more controversial their industry, the better. Yeah. I just be publishing one that I just did with the Chief Sustainability Officer of Republic Service. And I think a lot of people would be very, very shocked to understand just how difficult and just what the guys who pick up your garbage and throw it in the ground and dump dirt over it are doing. It's quite remarkable what is going on there. It's also quite difficult. If anybody in my earshot, if I can hear you complain about the non-environmental or how bad a Republic Service or a waste management or something are to the environment, I slap you, because it's your waste that they're trying to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's you.
Yeah.
Let's even take it further upstream. It's the companies that manufacture the waste that we are kind of forced to buy it because it's the only way, shape, or form that it comes in, and then we use it. And I mean, let's not just blame the consumer, but let's just
Yeah. What I'm saying is, don't blame these guys, because without them, you're just going to throw it in your backyard and be far worse. I mean, they're dealing with garbage. All right. And then you expect them to be green with it, but you want it to be free at the same time. Come on.
And that's the big problem, because people see, my favorite line is, there is no away. So when you say you throw something away, there is no away. It's just going somewhere you don't see it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And we have pretty much used up all of our empty spaces to dump this stuff into.
But yeah, 100%. And the interesting thing also that I've found getting into this over the last 4 or 5 years is that the real innovation comes from the our garbage can to the south of us, right? Which is below the equator is like the world's garbage can. It seems like. I mean, if you just look at where we send all our trash or all our recycling and all this other kind of stuff, it's the global south, right?
Oh yeah. No, and I mean, clothing that a lot of fast fashion gets dumped there. There's actually like a mountain of clothing out there, and it should have never been made to begin with. It should, things like that should be thought about a little more carefully.
That's the other part that you can dig into is it needs to start with product design.
Yeah, modular. You and I have talked about modular frequently. We need to do more of that, because just so people understand what modular, instead of taking a whole thing, it breaks, you throw it away. You have your whole thing. One little part broke. You just remove that, replace it, and you can keep the whole component of whatever it is. So that's what modular.
And that's a concept that's starting to enter architecture as well pretty strongly. I've talked to several people in architectural firms that they're really, counterintuitive to build it and make it last forever, like the pyramids or something. Build it so that it will be structurally sound, but then if it's over, it can modularly be changed and build into something else. I know some architectural firms that actually can grow and expand a house depending on how many people live there. So let's say you're a growing family, you have children, you can actually build out a room, but then you don't need it anymore. And then you detach that and it just goes ships to somewhere else. I forget the name of the company. It's driving me crazy, but that's exactly what it was. It's basically, go ahead. Marry that with my boys over in UK Hempspan that are building houses and stuff out of hemp.
Yeah. And there's insulation made from hemp, which is a fabulous material.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what they're doing, is the insulation is what they're doing.
Yeah, and going back to your plastics recycling, there's a company called Bellaterra in upstate New York. They are using waste plastic in paving stones and actual structural material that has actually, I believe it's now tested better than concrete for PSI.
Yeah.
Don't know the exact number, But they've been working for years on that. So now our waste plastic can be used to make new construction.
Absolutely. And that is, and it can even, there's many different things, and people get so upset when you start talking about some of these things like pyrolysis and waste to fuel, et cetera, and stuff like that. But there are instances where that is very, very good and needed, because not all the plastics that's out there, because almost none of it's been recycled since we've been producing plastic, some 300 billion tons a year. Almost none of it is still sitting in the ground and stuff. That plastic, you can't just take it out and make another bottle of it anymore.
No,
but you can take it out. You can take it out and make a polymer piece of wood, or a brick Faber, or concrete.
Fabers, yeah.
And you can even take it and run it through a catalyst type of operation, or pyrolysis, and create hydrogen gas, char, and diesel. That's better than
biochar is I didn't even know about that until probably about 5 or 6 years ago. That was something that I had never even crossed paths with.
Yeah. And it's interesting, and there's proponents and there's opponents all over the place about these things, but there's steps in the right direction, and there are technologies we've got to keep looking at and keep
Absolutely. trying. And I love the fact that you're like, these are steps in the right direction. It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect. We cannot be perfect, and stop expecting people to be perfect. Just go forward. Don't get stuck. Inertia will not work. What is it? Analysis paralysis will not work.
That's right.
Just keep pressing forward.
So there's a 𝒆𝒑𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈. Ever since you asked me everything that we've just discussed and talked about, that's what you can expect on the 𝒆𝒑𝒂𝒂💏, those type of discussions. Adam Wozniak from Ravago and Amco Polymers, they just announced with Republic Services their blue polymer now, which is they're just creating a complete B2B loop of plastics. So with Republic Services, et cetera, they're building the first one in Indiana, and they just announced they're going to build another one in Buckeye, Phoenix, just outside of Phoenix, Buckeye, Arizona. Those type of things. Dow Chemical on there, and their efforts to acquire and recycle all the film plastics. But then you also have people like Nicole Baker, who is she's a single woman who started a company called Net Your Problems. And they've got contracts all over North America with fisheries, and they get all the nets before they become ghost nets at the end, and they recycle all of them. And I learned it's called Net Your Problems. Her name's Nicole Baker, and she's freaking awesome. She's a rock star, and I never knew these. These nets are 20,000 pounds for
I didn't know
one
that.
net.
I know there's a lot of waste. I mean, most of the ocean waste that we see out there that's in the garbage piles, that's a lot of netting, because when they break down or get lost, they just dump them. They don't go after them.
That's exactly right.
20,000 pounds.
Yep. And so she goes with the fisheries, Alaska and Maine, and I think they're trying to do one in Florida. They got one, I think, in the central Gulf Coast as well, and up and down the West Coast. But the main fishery places, like Dutch Harbor, everybody knows Dutch Harbor, right? That's where the deadliest catch people go in and out of, right? The crab guys. So she's up there in Alaska quite a bit. Well,
I've been to Alaska, so a few times.
And so they give her their nets at end of life, before they take them out. She takes them, and they do clean up stuff and that type of stuff as well. So, and everybody in between are the guests on the show. So,
coming up, I will be doing it as well. I just signed up.
That's exactly right, which would be a tremendous one. I can't wait for that one as well.
Just listen to me babble for 40 minutes. I'm going to apologize now.
Boom. It'll be amazing. It'll be awesome.
Michael, on that, you're doing amazing work. I mean, the ocean plastic technology you're doing is fabulous. I love the fact that you're stopping it before it even gets anywhere near the waterways, which is important. And just the messaging that you're doing, I mean, I'm happy to just be copycatting you in any way, shape, or form. You've been doing this a lot longer than I have. And
I don't know about that.
I don't even know. I think this is my third year. Something.
Okay. Then we're probably pretty close.
Pretty close. Yeah. So like mine. But it's just the messaging is telling people what technology is out there, just so you know. That's it.
It's stripping through the hype of what's promising and what's not, because they're both very dangerous. People see a solution, a headline, Japan making hydrogen out of seawater. Well, everything's solved. That's baloney. No, it's not. This is a very new technology, and they're trying to do it, right? They're trying to make it better. So people thinking that, oh, somebody else is going to solve it is just as dangerous as not as telling them this doesn't work when it does work. It's every bit as dangerous.
And we also need to just start listening more and stop putting each other down. Just listen to what's out there and keep an open mind. Because I know people that are like, oh, no, this doesn't work. It's terrible. It's awful. It's like, well, why? It just is.
Yeah, because I read somewhere once that someone said it was bad. Oh,
okay. Do you have anything to follow that up with?
Got it.
No, but
you know, Wendy, this is how silly we are. North Korea, nothing was happening between North Korea and South Korea, right? There's not much happening. Things had calmed down pretty much. Then North Korea takes a bunch of waste and sends it over in balloons and drops it all over South Korea. So South Korea goes and turns on all their speakers yelling propaganda back at the North. So now the North says they're going to send even worse stuff over. And then
it's like teaching.
Yeah, I mean, we learned nothing. Hey, hello, people. We got this huge environmental thing going on, and you got two kids sitting on a sandbox poking each other and threatening each other. I mean, how stupid are we as a society? Come on, people. Listen to Wendy and learn something.
We got to do better. We just got to keep trying and keep, keeping it positive and pleasant, and just be nice. Just be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not hard.
It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard.
So, Michael, if people wanted to hunt you down, find you, be on your show, what's the best way to find you?
Oh, man, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. If you can't find me on LinkedIn, you're just not trying. Or go to 𝐂𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈.com, or go to 𝐂𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈.com, or go to optusa.earth. Is also a good one, or truckingtower.com.
You're everywhere.
Or, hey, you know what? Hey, email me at michael@opt.earth.
That's easy. Michael@opt.earth. That's easy.
Yeah. Email me. I love to get emails, and I talk to everybody.
You do. No, you're very open. You're very open with your time and your availability, which is important.
Well, I mean, sometimes I have to reschedule because life happens, but unless we're open and talking and collaborating and transparent, we're not going to get anything done, and we need to get stuff done. So
we need to get stuff done. We need to be more proactive.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. No, thank you for your time. What you're doing is awesome. And guys, please check out Michael Vincent. Go to LinkedIn, hunt him down, connect with him. There's a lot of important things to be said. So I do think
fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, Wendy. Peace and love, everybody.
Peace and love. All right. So, guys, I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. We'll catch you next time. Michael Vincent, thank you again so much for your time. You're doing awesome.
You got it. Peace.